Africa, where every dawn carries life and every dusk drags death behind it. Here, the sun does not merely shine, it judges. Each ray of light exposes who will survive the night and who will never see tomorrow's sunrise. The savanna stretches without end, from the red sands of the Kalahari to the golden grasslands of the Serengeti, from the dwindling rivers of Botswana to the vast Okavango Delta. And across this land, an ancient question has echoed through millions of years of evolution. Who is the true king of the savanna? Is it the one who roars the loudest, the fastest, the strongest? Or does the true king wear no crown at all, but carry within itself something far more powerful, fear? Because in Africa, fear is not a weakness. Fear is a compass, a teacher, a weapon. Predators fear failure, for a single missed strike could be their last meal. Prey fear death, for every wrong step offers no second chance. Herds fear dissolution, for to stand alone on the savanna is a death sentence without trial. Welcome to Nature's Moments, where we explore the most extraordinary mysteries of the natural world. To find the answer, we will journey through 5 lands, 5 arenas, where fear reaches its peak and reveals the true nature of every species. From the unforgiving Kalahari Desert, across the boundless Serengeti grasslands, along the parched Boteti River, to the wild fortress of Zakuma, and finally the flooded paradise of the Okavango Delta. Each stop is a test. Each species must confront its own fear, and how they respond will determine who deserves to sit upon the throne of the savanna. The first answer does not lie in crowded places. It hides within the brutal solitude of the Kalahari Desert, where speed is everything and time is an enemy that cannot be defeated. In this place, life needs no invitation. It arrives on its own, carried by speed. A pale golden shape appears on the horizon, body pressed flat against the ground, eyes locked onto a target more than 300 feet away. The cheetah, the most perfect speed machine that 40 million years of natural selection ever sculpted, a predator built for one explosive act. "70 miles per hour. From standstill to top speed in under 3 seconds, faster than most supercars on the planet." A spine that curves like a coiled spring, non-retractable claws gripping the earth like sprinting spikes, and a long tail serving as a rudder at blistering velocity. Every muscle fiber in the cheetah's body is engineered for a single purpose: acceleration. But speed comes at a terrible price. "20 to 30 seconds. That is all the time its fast twitch muscles allow before energy reserves are utterly spent. Not overheating, scorching the body from within, as scientists once believed, but the hard physical limit of every fast twitch fiber burning through its fuel reserves. If the prey is still running after half a minute, the cheetah loses. Not just the chase, its life. And today's prey is no easy catch. A scimitar-horned oryx stands there, horns over 3 feet long, sweeping skyward like 2 ancient swords. The scimitar-horned oryx is not as fast as the cheetah, but it does not need to be. Inside the skull of this antelope lies an evolutionary marvel that modern engineers would envy. A carotid rete, a dense network of microscopic blood vessels that cool arterial blood before it reaches the brain. The body temperature of a scimitar-horned oryx can climb to 113 degrees Fahrenheit, a threshold that would cause permanent brain damage in most mammals. Yet its brain remains cool, remains alert, remains calculating. When cornered, the scimitar-horned oryx does not keep running. It turns around, horns aimed directly at its attacker. There are documented cases of lions impaled through the chest by scimitar-horned oryx horns. The hunter becomes the victim in a single thrust. This is the savannah's first lesson. Speed does not decide everything. The one who fears running out of time faces the one who knows no fear at all. The cheetah must choose, strike fast and gamble with its life, or walk away and endure another day of hunger. The fear of the savannah's fastest creature is not meeting something stronger, it is the countdown ticking inside its own body. But the fear of time does not belong to the cheetah alone. More than 1,000 miles to the east of the Kalahari, on the grasslands of the Serengeti, a new generation faces a fear far more ancient, the fear of failing for the very first time. The Serengeti, 12,000 square miles of grassland and open woodland, stretching between Tanzania and Kenya, home to the greatest concentration of large mammals on the planet, Africa's grandest arena. At the edge of an acacia thicket, 4 5-month-old lion cubs watch their mother. Golden eyes wide open, ears pricked forward, every movement committed to memory. Lion cubs are not born knowing how to hunt. They must learn, and the first lesson begins at 5 months of age. The lioness is the teacher. Within the pride, it is the females lighter, faster, more agile who carry out nearly 90% of all hunts. The males, larger and heavier, await their share of the spoils. But even the teacher is far from perfect. A single lioness hunting alone succeeds less than 19% of the time, far below the 30% success rate achieved when the group coordinates. £13 of meat per day for each female, £20 for each male. That is the bare minimum to sustain life. And the Serengeti does not hand out free meals. Today, a lone wildebeest has strayed from the herd. The lioness drops low, belly nearly brushing the earth, advancing in absolute silence. Her 4 cubs follow behind, attempting to mimic her, but their clumsy frames send dry grass crackling underfoot. The lunge fails. The wildebeest bolts and vanishes into the herd in an instant. Failure. The first lesson, and certainly not the last. Young males will leave the pride between the ages of 2 and 3, wandering alone or forging coalitions with brothers, biding their time until the day they are strong enough to challenge a reigning male for control of a pride. Young females stay behind, becoming the primary hunters, feeding the entire family through each dry season. Each cub carries a different fear. The males fear solitude on the open savanna. The females fear not being skilled enough to keep the pride alive through the night. Yet despite their fear, instinct drives them forward, because on the Serengeti, the one who hesitates is the one who starves. And even the prince of the savannah must learn a lesson in humility, especially when the opponent is not soft prey, but a living legend weighing nearly 2,200 pounds. A beast bearing a name that makes even lions shudder, the Black Death. The African buffalo is a beast responsible for more human fatalities than any other large animal on the continent. Nearly 2,000 pounds of solid muscle compressed into a frame that is virtually impenetrable. Atop the skull of every mature bull, 2 curved horns fuse at the base to form a bony shield known as the boss. This formidable layer of cranial armor reaches full development when the male is between 8 and 9 years of age. This horn shield is so thick that rifle bullets have been known to ricochet off it. Lions that bite down on a buffalo's skull risk shattering their own teeth. But the true power of the African buffalo does not lie in the individual, it lies in the herd. When a single member is attacked, the entire herd hundreds strong wheels around. They form a defensive wall, horns facing outward, and charge directly into the lion pride. The predator becomes the prey. The lions must flee or be trampled beneath hundreds of hooves. This is the fear lions never acknowledge, that their prey can defeat the king. African buffalo do not spread fear with a roar. They spread it with silence and with the ground trembling as the entire herd wheels around to counterattack. On the savannah, the throne does not belong to the attacker. Sometimes it belongs to the one who knows when to fight back. But in another land, fear does not come from horns or fangs. Fear comes from within the herd itself, where the greatest enemy may be one's own kind. Botswana, a dry season lasting 6 punishing months, transforms lush green pastures into cracked, barren plains, and every living creature turns desperately toward a single place. The Boteti River, the last lifeline of a land dying of thirst. The plains zebra, a species in which every individual wears a set of stripes as unique and unrepeatable as a human fingerprint. A stallion weighing more than 660 pounds of lean muscle stands guard at the edge of the herd. His harem of 2 to 6 mares drinks cautiously at the riverbank. But the threat does not come from beneath the water. In the shadows of a thicket less than 50 feet away, 3 lionesses lie motionless. Claws over an inch long, fully retracted within soft, fleshy sheaths, ready to deploy in under 1/10 of a second. The lionesses hunt in absolute silence. No roar, no heavy breathing, only the cold patience of killers who have waited for hours. The moment of the attack, the zebra herd erupts into panic, black and white stripes swirling into a dizzying visual maze, a phenomenon called motion dazzle that robs the lions of a clear target. A foal separates from its mother. The lioness redirects. But the stallion charges in. More than 660 pounds of muscle slam into the lioness's flank, enough force to drive the predator backward. The herd escapes. This time, but zebras are not always so fortunate. And the deadliest threats do not always come from enemies outside the herd. When a new stallion defeats the old king and seizes the herd, his first act is not to mate, but to kill. Infanticide. The new king kills the foals of the old king, forcing the mares back into estrus, ensuring the next generation carries the genes of the victor. Science has documented this behavior, though it does not occur in every population. But where it does, zebra mares face an unthinkable choice: accept the loss of their young, or fight back against an opponent many times their strength. Some mares choose to fight. They bite, kick, and shield their foals with their own bodies. The fear of losing one's young, perhaps the most primal fear in the entire animal kingdom. And then the rains arrive. The zebra herds begin their annual migration. Thousands of individuals pressing southward, crossing the Boteti River, where Nile crocodiles lurk beneath the murky water, and the swift, unpredictable current can sweep away foals and full-grown adults alike. Every step into the river is a gamble. Every zebra descending into the water knows that not all of them will reach the far bank. Yet they go, because to stay behind means dying of thirst, and the fear of thirst is greater than the fear of being dragged to the bottom of a river. Amid the countless primal fears of the savannah, fear of death, fear of losing one's young, fear of losing one's throne, one species has chosen a different path entirely. They have transformed fear itself into a system of power, where the one who spreads terror is not a king, but a queen. The spotted hyena, perhaps the most misunderstood creature in all of Africa, they are still called scavengers, cowards who lurk in the shadows and steal the kills of others. But the truth is the exact opposite. More than 60% of the spotted hyena's diet comes from prey. They hunt themselves an active hunting rate that surpasses even that of the lion. Their society is a true matriarchal empire, where females rule with absolute authority and iron discipline. A hyena clan can swell to as many as 80 members, and the alpha female wields absolute power from the division of every meal to the determination of which individuals are permitted to mate. That power is determined from the very moment of birth. Hyena cubs are born with their eyes open, armed with sharp jaws ready for combat. And their first battle is not against an outside enemy, but against their own siblings. The concept of siblicide is documented by science as a ruthless survival strategy. Stronger cubs will kill weaker siblings inside the den to monopolize their mother's milk. Here, the greatest fear does not come from the outside, it comes from those who share the same blood. With a body weighing up to 176 pounds and a jaw generating over 990 pounds of crushing force, the spotted hyena possesses nature's most efficient recycling apparatus. That bite is enough to splinter the femur of a full-grown African buffalo. Bones, horns, hooves, nothing survives a hyena's jaws. Tonight, the clan is hungry. As the pack moves, the ground seems to tremble beneath the footsteps of dozens of individuals. The eerie sound that people call laughter is, in reality, a battle cry, a rallying call for war. Their target is a young elephant calf, separated from its mother, a feast weighing nearly 3 tons of fresh meat. They arrange themselves in a crescent formation, the alpha female leading, eyes fixed on the prey. But the panicked cries of the calf reach its mother's ears. And no hyena clan, no matter how numerous, dares confront the full fury of a female elephant weighing nearly 4 tons. The clan withdraws in silence, not out of cowardice, but because they understand their own limits. This is the true portrait of the spotted hyena, a hunter more accomplished than the lion, yet wise enough to know when to stop. The stigma of being labeled a scavenger has trailed them since the dawn of time. But perhaps the deepest fear of this queen of darkness is the fear of overreaching, for to attack a mother elephant is to challenge a force far greater than the clan itself. If you too are captivated by the contest for the savannah's crown, share your thoughts with Nature's Moments in the comments. In your view, who is the true king? Africa, a land of giants. Among the rulers of the savannah, from buffalo weighing nearly a ton to hyenas with their bone-crushing jaws, only one roar commands the silence of all living things. The roar of the lion, the king of the grasslands. Yet in a cruel twist of irony, this very king now faces the greatest fear in its entire evolutionary history, the threat of vanishing forever. The African lion, the second largest cat on Earth after the Bengal tiger, is a flawless hunting machine. A body of nearly 550 pounds of raw muscle, stretching close to 10 feet from nose to tail tip. A roar that carries across 5 miles of open grassland, a thunderous declaration of authority that freezes every creature within earshot. They live in prides of 3 to 40 individuals, where roles are divided with a precision honed by millions of years of evolution. Females hunt, males defend the territory. When that machine runs smoothly, the lion is an unchallenged force. Yet behind that regal exterior, the crown is cracking. Even their very symbol of power, the magnificent mane, conceals a different story. On the Serengeti grasslands, the thicker and darker the mane, the greater the proof of a male's health and status. But just a few hundred miles to the southeast, in Kenya's Tsavo region, a stark truth emerges. Tsavo lions have no mans. This is not a sign of weakness, it is an adaptation for survival. In the searing heat of Tsavo, a thick mane is nothing but a burden. Evolution stripped the crown away to keep the king alive. But the most pressing question is not about appearance, it is about existence itself. Only around 23,000 lions remain in the wild across all of Africa, a staggering decline of more than 40% in just 2 decades, a collapse in numbers that biologists describe as catastrophic. Though the Asiatic lion population in India is showing encouraging signs of recovery, that glimmer of hope remains profoundly fragile against 4 blades aimed directly at the throne. Habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict, poaching, and dwindling prey populations. The greatest fear of the king of beasts is not the buffalo or the hyena. The greatest fear is extinction. And to understand that fear more deeply, to witness a throne teetering on the edge of collapse, one must leave the Serengeti and fly west to an isolated fortress in the heart of Chad. In 1963, amid the arid savanna of eastern Chad, the country's first national park was born, Zakouma. A green island in an ocean of sand, where life concentrates so densely it seems as though nature has poured its last reserves into a single wager. And in that wager, one species stands on the brink, the Kordofan giraffe. Fewer than 2,000 individuals remain on the entire planet. More than half of them live right here in Zakouma. This is a subspecies classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List. Standing 15 to 18 feet tall, shorter than their cousins in East and Southern Africa, yet still the tallest creatures walking on land. A tongue nearly 18 inches long, dark and tough as cured leather, wrapping around thorny acacia branches without a scratch. But the true marvel lies in the heart. Weighing roughly 24 pounds, the largest heart of any terrestrial mammal, it generates blood pressure, double that of a human, approximately 300 millimeters of mercury, simply to pump blood up a neck stretching more than 6 feet. And it is precisely this that transforms the simplest of acts, drinking water, into the most dangerous moment of the day. When a giraffe splays its front legs wide and lowers its head to the water's surface, blood pressure shifts abruptly. A system of one-way valves in the jugular veins prevents blood from flooding the brain, yet the body remains dangerously off balance. In that posture, the giraffe is virtually helpless. "15 months of gestation for a single calf per birth. Every individual lost is a blow to the entire subspecies." The fear of extinction here is no abstract concept. It lives in every giraffe lowering its head to drink, knowing that its most vulnerable moment may also be its last. Alongside these long-necked giants, Zakuma shelters a smaller creature, no less eccentric. The African warthog, with 4 curving tusks and a habit of kneeling on its front legs to eat wrists calloused from millions of landings. Active mainly in the early morning and late afternoon, retreating into burrows borrowed from aardvarks when the midday sun blazes overhead. Nearly half of its daylight hours are devoted to foraging. Small, awkward, yet enduring living proof that on the savannah one need not be mighty to persist. And then there is the West African lion, a version entirely unlike the giants of the Serengeti. Smaller, 260 to 330 pounds for the males. Sparse manes, leaner frames, as though the desert has stripped away every excess. Small prides of 3 to 6 individuals, lacking the numbers for large-scale ambush tactics. Instead, they hunt under cover of darkness, and at dawn, when prey lose the advantage of sight. Recent genetic research has revealed a remarkable and unexpected finding. Zakuma's lions carry intermediate genetic markers, placing them closer to the Asiatic lion of India's Gir forest than to the East African lions roaming the same continent. The king here is a solitary, diminished king fighting not for a throne, but for the right to exist. But Zakuma is not merely a fortress for lions and giraffes. In the skies above, a silent army keeps the entire ecosystem from collapse. The white-backed vulture, with a wingspan reaching 7.5 feet, soaring for hours on thermal columns with scarcely a single wing beat. The world calls them carrion eaters, but the more accurate title is Ecological Sanitation Crew. The vulture's digestive system produces acid powerful enough to neutralize anthrax bacteria, a pathogen lethal to most mammals. Every carcass processed by vultures is a potential disease outbreak neutralized. Without vultures, the savanna would rot. Disease would spread unchecked. The ecosystem would collapse from within. King? Vultures never claim the title. But if they vanish, there will be no kingdom left to fight over. And then there is the Sitatunga, the phantom of the Okavango. Fur coated in water-repellent oil, hooves splayed wide, in a unique adaptation to mud and marshland. The Sitatunga is the only antelope in Africa capable of submerging completely underwater, leaving only its nostrils exposed to breathe. When a predator approaches, the Sitatunga does not run. It sinks, vanishing into the swamp as though it had never existed. Here, fear does not become flight, it becomes disappearance. And the impala, perhaps the most complete athlete on the savanna. Leaping nearly 10 feet high and more than 30 feet across. Each bound is a flawless equation of thrust, trajectory, and gravity. Eyes perpetually vigilant, ears rotating 360 degrees, nerves reacting in thousandths of a second. The impala is not a king, but the impala does not need to be. It only needs to survive one more day. And tomorrow, repeat. Every species in the Okavango has found its own way to endure, not through strength, not through fang or claw, but through adaptation. Through understanding exactly where it stands in the food chain and accepting that truth. No one is king in the Okavango, only those who know where they belong. And so, the question returns, who is the true king of the savannah? The cheetah, the fastest, yet granted only 20 seconds before its own body betrays it. The scimitar-horned oryx, the bravest yet swords, cannot save the entire herd. The African buffalo, the strongest yet a single straggler from the herd, is a dead one. The zebra, the most resilient, yet paying in blood at every river crossing. The spotted hyena, the most cunning, yet even the queen of darkness must bow before the elephant. The lion, the most majestic, yet this self-proclaimed king, is counting down the days to extinction. No one is king. Because the African savannah has no throne, no crown, no dynasty that lasts forever. There is only the cycle. Blood spills onto the red earth and feeds the roots of the grass. The grass feeds the antelope feeds the lion. And when the lion dies, its body returns to the soil, and the grass grows once more. Since the dawn of time itself, long before humans learned to paint on cave walls, long before the first language was ever spoken aloud, this ancient cycle has been turning. And it will keep turning through every battle, every hunt, every roar, and every cry fading into the night. But the cycle needs its guardians. Lions are declining. Kordofan giraffes stand on the edge of extinction. White-backed vultures, the keepers who prevent the savanna from rotting, are vanishing faster than any other species on the continent. Zakouma, a small fortress in Chad, has proven that humans can stand guard over the cycle. Africa, where nothing truly ends, where everything transforms, where death is not the final word but merely a prelude to the next beginning. Where the true king wears no crown, does not roar, does not spread fear. The true king is the cycle that never dies. Thank you for joining Nature's Moments. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. If you have not yet subscribed, now is the perfect time. We will see you on the next expedition. The Great Migration. An immense assembly of over 1 million blue wildebeest, some 300,000 zebra, and 400,000 gazelle. The zebra and the wildebeest are not kin, but they share a sacred commitment to existence, to see the sun for one more day. The wildebeest possesses exceptionally keen senses of hearing and smell. In particular, it can perceive ground vibrations from distant water sources or from the footfalls of other creatures. However, its short, sturdy neck limits its field of vision. This is where the zebra fulfills its purpose. Weighing up to 850 pounds and with a visual range of nearly 360 degrees, zebras are the great guardians of this journey. This union creates a remarkable network of defense. Yet, that does not imply a life of peaceful coexistence. It is merely part of a harsh cycle of self-preservation within a larger collective. Under the pressures of the migration, the weak or the very young are easily left behind, becoming targets for predators. But the migration faces more than just terrestrial trials. Their journey must intersect with an ancient force, where the line between life and death is as fragile as the water's surface. When the boundary between land and river dissolves, all displays of power lose their meaning. There, by the seemingly tranquil riverbanks, a master of patience awaits. For 200 million years, it has lurked beneath the muddy waters of the Mara River. This is the Nile crocodile, the most formidable, defiant, and perfect reptile that creation has ever conceived. A sheltered hunting machine weighing up to 2,200 pounds and measuring up to 20 feet in length. The secret to its hunting success lies in its subtlety. With skin that blends perfectly into the riverbed, the Nile crocodile resembles an ancient, gently floating log. Leaving the deadly river behind, the savannah greets the survivors with yet another challenge. On this land, there are creatures whose power comes not from concealment, but from an unstoppable collective force. The African buffalo. Weighing up to 2,000 pounds, they are living tanks, protected by thick hide and a solid shield of bone upon their brows. Within Africa's legendary Big Five, the buffalo can sometimes command more reverence than the lion. Confrontations between two adult bulls are a ritual of physical prowess, a dance of primal violence. With speeds reaching 30 miles per hour, the force of impact is immense. Nearly a ton of solid muscle is concentrated at the point of collision, right between the eyes. There, the bases of the two horns fuse into a dense, bony shield, forming a natural coat of armor. This structure is hard enough to absorb and disperse tremendous impacts, and it only fully matures when a bull reaches about 8 or 9 years of age. In Zulu culture, the buffalo is a symbol of indomitable will. Its nature of facing danger without retreat inspired the military tactics of King Shaka Zulu. Elite units were likened to the unstoppable force of this animal. That warrior spirit is also embodied in the powerful Indlamu war dance. The Zulu also crafted buffalo horns into ornaments and weapons, believing the animal's strength would be transferred to the bearer. When gathered in large herds, African buffalo become a mobile fortress, an almost perfect defense. Few predators on the savannah, not even lions, are willing to challenge a full herd of adult buffalo. The majesty of this black giant is often accompanied by an explosive energy, waiting to be unleashed. With just a subtle signal that composure can transform into a destructive offensive force. However, everything changes when an individual is separated from the protection of the herd. An adult buffalo can weigh about 5 times as much as a lioness, and in theory, a single head-on charge would be enough to end the confrontation. But the lion pride knows this, so they rely on tactics instead of brute force. The lion is a rare social predator among felines, and most hunts are coordinated by the females of the pride. The pride silently surrounds its quarry, isolating the buffalo from its herd and latching onto its thick hide, turning the hunt into a battle of endurance. With powerful jaws and curved claws, they attempt to restrain the struggling giant. But African buffalo are renowned for their solidarity. When one individual is in danger, the entire herd may turn back to mount a rescue. Faced with the pressure of converging masses of black muscle, the queens of the hunt are forced to retreat. But there is still one young male lion who has not given up. To become a king of the plains, a male lion must prove his strength and his courage. These encounters with Cape buffalo are the most grueling of tests. It is these perilous battles that will forge the future rulers of the savannah. Even when the buffalo herds have defeated their challengers, the savannah holds a greater power still. A creature that reigns almost absolutely at the apex of the hierarchy of strength. It needs no support from a herd to assert its status. Its presence alone is enough to make the ground tremble. The African elephant. The African elephant is a masterpiece of biology, weighing up to 13,200 pounds and standing nearly 13 feet tall as an adult. Once fully grown, they have almost no natural enemies. Before such a giant, even the lion, the savannah's most feared predator, must keep its distance. The elephant's security comes not from speed or aggression, but from its immense size and overwhelming power. A single footstep can exert a pressure equivalent to a heavy armored vehicle rolling across the earth. But the elephant's strength is not just in its size. Its trunk is one of the most complex biological tools in the animal world. With over 40,000 individual muscle bundles, the trunk can uproot trees, lift heavy objects, or become a formidable weapon when necessary. The authority of the African elephant stems from tons of power combined with an intelligence rarely seen in the natural world. For many years, it was told that African elephants could become intoxicated from eating fermented marula fruit. However, studies have shown this is almost impossible in the wild. For an elephant to reach a state of inebriation, it would have to consume an enormous quantity of fermented fruit, and its digestive system processes food very quickly. Thus, the story of the drunken marula elephant is now considered more of a popular anecdote than a truly documented behavior in nature. The African elephant is a creature of powerful emotions. They can experience joy, attachment, and even sorrow. But when a multi-ton being loses its composure, the consequences for its surroundings can be unpredictable. Besides the elephant, another giant walks the African savanna with almost no fear. The rhinoceros. Its eyesight is poor, nearly useless at a distance, but that deficit is compensated by astonishing power. An adult rhinoceros can weigh up to 3,000 pounds. Its massive body is encased in armor-like hide, and on its snout is a sharp horn that can become a dangerous weapon. The rhinoceros is often solitary and exists in a state of high alert. Unable to see clearly from afar, it relies more on its senses of smell and hearing. A strange scent or an unusual sound is enough to provoke an immediate reaction from this giant. When uncertain of the threat before it, the rhinoceros's instinct is simple: charge directly at it. During the breeding season, tensions escalate. Adult males will often drive away a female's calf to encourage her to return to her reproductive cycle sooner. When two adult rhinos dispute territory, the confrontation can last for hours. Their horns, made of keratin, the same material as human fingernails, become deadly weapons. In fact, battles between adult males account for nearly half of all natural mortalities for this species. However, the greatest threat to the rhinoceros comes not from its own kind, but from humans. Poaching for their horns, so-called white gold, despite having no real medicinal value, has pushed this species to the brink of extinction. Today, local communities and rangers patrol day and night, even dehorning the animals to protect the last hope of survival for these giants of the savannah. Not all giants rely on armor or muscular strength for confrontation. Some rise above in a completely different manner. The giraffe, with the body of a horse and a neck up to 6.5 feet long, is a testament to this. This creature possesses a 24-pound heart, which generates a blood pressure double that of a human. Yet, its neck contains precisely 7 cervical vertebrae, the same number found in people. Each vertebra is over 10 inches long. Beyond aiding in feeding, these necks can become high-impact instruments in a ritualized contest known as necking during the mating season. The small protrusions on their heads, called ossicones, are actually hard, skin-covered bone structures. When a physical confrontation occurs, the resulting sound can be heard from hundreds of feet away. It is a motion with enough force to break ribs, damage internal organs, or even knock an opponent unconscious instantly. This confrontation is like a slow yet decisive dance with destiny. An outmatched African giraffe can suffer a broken neck and fall to the ground like a collapsing tower. However, the neck is not its only form of defense. The lions of the Etosha region, in their search for food, understand this better than anyone. And creation always finds a way to exhibit admirable contrasts. Along the tranquil rivers of Africa exists one of nature's greatest illusions. The hippopotamus's yawn. This act of opening its jaws to 150 degrees is no sign of rest or laziness. This is the most aggressive mammal on the planet. The lower canine teeth of a hippopotamus can grow up to 24 inches long. Thanks to a self-sharpening mechanism, with every movement, they remain as keen as blades. These impressive teeth serve only one purpose: to confront enemies. Only the strongest individuals are permitted to rule this sacred marshland. The hippo's loyalty to its territory is as fierce as an absolute creed. The one about to cross its path is a waterbuck, an antelope with a water-repellent coat that always lives near water sources. For the waterbuck, the water is a safe refuge from terrestrial predators. But the resident hippo does not share that view. The consequence of defying the rules of the marsh is to have one's life ended by the planet's most aggressive landlord. In this land, still waters are never a sign of absolute peace. When the great warriors have ended their journeys, the keepers of nature's harmony draw near. At the moment when life transforms to provide sustenance, there is always one who does not understand the meaning of waiting its turn. But when great wings descend from the sky, the rules of nature change instantly. The lappet-faced vulture is the great guardian of the savanna's provisions. With a wingspan of nearly 10 feet, it is the largest and most powerful of Africa's cleanup crew. This giant possesses a natural gift that no other species has. Its beak is incredibly strong, deep, and sharp. It is the tool that creation bestowed upon the pathfinders. Only they have the strength to tear through the toughest hides of the African elephant, the Cape buffalo, or the rhinoceros. Thus, they often take pride of place, enjoying the main portion of the meal and leaving the rest for their counterparts. The smaller species depend on its strength, while it relies on the presence of the smaller ones to locate food more quickly. It is a collaboration born from the necessities of life. When this bird becomes more animated or prepares for a contest over food, blood rushes to the skin on its face. This color change helps the bird regulate its body temperature during times of exertion, while also sending a clear, natural signal to any who might think of standing in its way. Without a single sudden movement, the vibrant color of its resolve has done 90% of the work in establishing respect. After the confrontations of tusk and horn play out under the open sun, the African continent still conceals other giants. They live in more secluded places, higher and more humid. There, the stage of existence might be cloud-covered peaks, swift-flowing rivers where razor-sharp teeth await, or beneath the dense forest canopy. In those places, the giants possess unique survival strategies and natural tools perfected through fierce confrontations. Over 9,800 feet above sea level, the Virunga mountain range lies between Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In this kingdom of mist, with its thin, cold air, there lives a king with no throne, but with silver shoulders that can carry his entire lineage. The mountain gorilla shares about 98% of its DNA with humans. Its digestive system is a colossal cellulose processing machine, turning simple leaves into rippling masses of muscle. Their social structure revolves around an absolute hierarchy. A silverback is the father, the leader, and the sole protector of his family. A wise silverback will observe the frequency of these sounds and decide whether it is worth expending the energy for a physical confrontation. But when the language of sound is not enough, physical power will speak. The gorilla uses its full weight for positioning and employs its jaws, with a bite stronger than a lion's or a tiger's, to leave a deep impression of its presence. Their most formidable tools are canine teeth up to 2 inches long. A powerful bite to the shoulder or neck could end the life of any rival in a moment. The mountain gorilla is an admirable example of the balance between immense power and gentleness. They are gentle giants until the boundaries of mutual respect are crossed. But far from the cool mountain peaks, in the lower regions, there is a creature with an appearance as brilliant as a work of art, but with a fierce disposition. A primate that even a leopard must think twice before approaching. The mandrill is a creature that defies the usual standards of evolutionary history. It possesses a brilliantly colored appearance, yet it is also the largest primate of its kind in the world, with one of the most volatile temperaments in nature. The more vivid a male mandrill's reds and blues, the more intense a life force it displays. In other words, its face is a tangible testament to the strength and vitality that life has bestowed. An adult male mandrill can weigh 77 pounds or more. but its true power lies in its large troops, true legions on the move. They can gather in enormous groups of up to 600 or even 1,000 individuals. No snake, small rodent, or other primate group is brave enough to stand in their way. This is the procession of a very well-organized group, under the leadership of the king with the most brilliant face. The savannah quietly recedes as darkness descends. The giants withdraw into the night, leaving behind the mark of an indomitable will to survive, etched in scars and fierce confrontations. Across the sun-scorched plains of the Serengeti, life is an epic composed of courage and sacrifice. Here, lions reign as the undisputed masters of the vast savannah. The lion is the only feline to forge a truly complex social structure. A pride is a formidable fortress built upon the bedrock of kinship and mutual protection. The male lion stands as the embodiment of absolute power and regal authority. He wears a dense mane, a biological shield designed to protect his throat. His role is to safeguard the frontiers of his kingdom. His roar, audible for 5 miles, is a thunderous warning to any intruder who dares challenge his lineage. Yet the soul and predatory heart of the pride reside within the females. They are an elite force, bound by seamless coordination to create the most effective hunting network on the plains. The huntresses begin their strategic deployment. They never act alone, communicating through subtle glances and silent movements amidst the parched grass. Their target is a Cape buffalo. But across these immense grasslands, survival also depends upon a different weapon: extreme velocity. Observe this slender creature concealed within the golden stalks. This is the cheetah, the swiftest animal on our planet, a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Its frame is a structure perfected for the pursuit of ultimate speed. With a lightweight skeleton and a spine as flexible as a steel spring, it is designed to tear through space. In a mere 3 seconds, the cheetah can reach speeds exceeding 62 miles per hour. An intense acceleration that far outclasses even our most advanced modern supercars. The long, muscular tail serves as a biological rudder. It allows the cat to execute sharp maneuvers at high speed while maintaining absolute equilibrium. Distinct black tear marks help absorb the harsh glare of the African sun. This specialized adaptation focuses its vision on targets more than half a mile away. Now, a target appears. A solitary impala has let down its guard. This is the moment the killer instinct awakens in a macabre dance of death. The cheetah lowers its center of gravity, gliding like a specter through the thorn bushes. Every footfall is a calculated step, narrowing the gap for the final explosion. High above, the stillness of the forest is suddenly shattered. Immense wings churn the air, a heavy rhythm asserting the dominance of the hornbill, the sovereign of Borneo's skies. This island is a sanctuary for 8 distinct species of hornbill. But most striking is the rhinoceros hornbill, a living icon of the island. Its hollow casque acts as a resonance chamber, amplifying calls that carry for miles to mark territorial boundaries. Their lives are inextricably linked to ancient, towering trees. The continuity of their lineage depends entirely upon these hollow trunks. During the breeding season, the female seals herself within, using mud to wall off the nest entrance. She remains there for weeks, molting and nurturing new life in total seclusion. The weight of the world now rests solely upon the male's shoulders. The survival of the entire family depends on his loyalty and endurance. By consuming large fruits that smaller birds cannot, hornbills carry seeds across vast distances. Their flights initiate a continuous process of rebirth, redrawing the map of the forest. They are the great sours of the wilderness. Among these branches, we also find the Bornean orangutan, the titan guarding the soul of Southeast Asian jungles. Weighing nearly 200 pounds, they are the largest arboreal animals on our planet. Mature males possess large cheek pads, which help project their territorial calls across several miles. With an arm span reaching 6.5 feet, these steel-like levers allow them to make impossible reaches across dangerous voids. To move such a massive frame requires immense energy. Intelligence is their ultimate tool. An orangutan's brain holds a complex cognitive map of hundreds of fruit trees in three-dimensional space. More importantly, it masters the growth cycles of every individual species. When the dry season turns the forest into a hungry green desert, the orangutan knows exactly which tree will bear fruit tomorrow. After 8 months of gestation, the female begins an uninterrupted 7-year commitment. This is the longest weaning and nursing period of any mammal, surpassed only by humans. It is a rigorous course in survival, where every secret of the jungle is meticulously passed to the next generation. The canopy is a safe fortress, but sometimes hunger forces them to do the unthinkable. Descending to the forest floor is a step into extreme risk. Their bodies are not built for the ground, turning the king of the trees into a sluggish exile. In the shadows of the dense undergrowth, the forest's top predators are waiting. In the lower strata of the canopy, where light is swallowed by shadow, a ghost awakens. This is the realm of the sunder-clouded leopard, a mystery of the Bornean wilds. It is often regarded as a modern incarnation of the ancient saber-toothed cats. It possesses canines over 2 inches long, the largest relative to body size in the feline family. Where the forest meets the river, life flourishes in a different fashion. The proboscis monkey is an extraordinary species found nowhere else but Borneo. They make their homes along the riverbanks, where dense vegetation provides a natural stronghold. In their society, the larger the nose, the higher the status. The nose serves as a resonance chamber, amplifying calls to warn rivals and entice mates. To survive on nutrient-poor mangrove leaves, they have evolved a complex, multi-chambered stomach similar to ruminants. Billions of symbiotic bacteria work tirelessly to break down cellulose and neutralize plant toxins. This adaptation allows them to exploit a food source that other competitors must ignore. However, life by the water is fraught with constant peril. When food becomes scarce, they must make a daring choice. Just beneath the silt of Borneo's rivers, the saltwater crocodile waits with infinite patience. Reaching lengths that can exceed 20 feet, this is the largest living reptile, the supreme monarch of brackish waters. Its rugged hide provides perfect camouflage, rendering it invisible until the very last moment. Thousands of sensitive pressure receptors on its jaw act as a radar system, detecting vibrations from dozens of yards away. Its bite exerts a force of 3,700 pounds per square inch, the most powerful in the animal kingdom. In Borneo, a single moment of inattention can cost one's life. Yet in this unforgiving realm, there are giants that know no fear. Emerging from the mist, the Bornean elephant appears in all its majesty. Their true strength lies not in their tusks, nor their trunks containing 40,000 muscles. That strength is found in unity and collective wisdom. The herd is led by the oldest and most sagacious female. Her brain is a living library, retaining maps of every water source and meadow for the past 60 years. When a calf goes astray, the matriarch emits infrasonic signals below 20 hertz. This sound travels through the ground for miles to summon the members. A defensive formation is immediately activated. A natural strategy, where the family is the beginning and the end of all protection. This is the eternal truth of Borneo's ancient forest, where harshness and compassion weave the symphony of existence. Further down, where fierce rivers carve into the mountain foothills, the face of the forest begins to shift. One must never mistake the gentleness of a herbivore for weakness. The sambar deer is the largest deer in Southeast Asia and one of the island's most robust land mammals. With a weight that can reach 550 pounds, its body is a mass of muscle and steel-like sinew. Sambar are highly selective browsers. They seek out only the most nutrient-rich young leaves, shoots, and fallen fruits. This premium fuel is converted directly into muscular power and tools of authority. But the stature of a giant is also a burden. In the eyes of predators, a sambar is a massive, mobile reservoir of protein. Consequently, they have developed a sixth sense, profound suspicion. Large ears rotate constantly like radar to detect the slightest hint of danger. Quiet strength combined with hypervigilance has made the sambar a symbol of resilience. Following in the tracks of giants is the sun bear. Though the smallest bear on Earth, this 5-foot creature possesses an ego larger than any other forest inhabitant. Nature has equipped it with a perfect toolkit. Its claws are specialized for climbing and tearing through wood. Its tongue can extend 10 inches, a record among all bear species. Loose skin around the neck acts as biological armor, allowing it to ignore the stings of 1,000 bees. This fearless temperament creates a perimeter of respect that gives even the most formidable predators pause. As night falls, the forest's pocket-sized hunters finally awaken. This is the tarsier, a primate measuring barely 4 inches in length. Immense eyes, larger than its own brain, are designed to capture every stray photon of light. Because they are so large, these eyes are fixed within the skull. To compensate, nature granted the tarsier a miraculous neck that can rotate nearly 270 degrees. The tarsier is the only primate in the world that is entirely carnivorous. Its existence depends on fresh protein from insects and small reptiles. The secret is in the hind legs, which feature unusually long tarsal bones. In an instant, it can launch itself 40 times its own body length. They communicate via ultrasound at 91 kilohertz, well beyond the hearing of predators like owls or snakes. The survival of this ancient lineage is bound to the health of the primary forest. Further north, a shadow battalion seizes control of the night sky. These are the flying foxes, the inverted monarchs of the High Kingdom. This is the largest fruit bat on Earth, with a leathery wingspan of 5 feet. In reality, their wings are hands with elongated fingers, connected by a thin membrane called the patagium. Unlike their smaller echolocating cousins, flying foxes rely on keen eyes and a sharp nose to detect ripening fruit from afar. On their nightly foraging expeditions, some wings must carry a double burden. A pup must cling tightly to its mother with feet and claws, becoming an inseparable part of her aerial acrobatics. Though many fear their appearance, the flying fox is a keystone species for this ecosystem. As they fly, tons of seeds are dispersed throughout the forest. They are the most industrious planters, reconnecting isolated fragments of green. When the sun sets, the ancient forest does not sleep. It merely shifts its cadence. The Sunda pangolin is the only mammal on Earth to trade warm fur for a suit of cold armor. Over 900 keratin scales overlap to create an impregnable shield. When threatened, it curls into a dense, armored sphere. Tragically, this very perfection has become the cause of its downfall. Humans have turned this proud armor into baseless traditional medicines, pushing the Sunda pangolin toward extinction. In the battle against greed, Borneo's best protected creature is failing to survive. The green peafowl, or Indonesian peacock, is a rare bird of regal splendor. Males can grow to 7 feet in length, adorned with metallic green plumage and a train featuring eye-like patterns. The breeding season coincides with the rains, when males display their fans in complex dances to attract mates. However, the green peafowl is critically threatened by habitat loss and illegal hunting. Deep within the tropical forests of Java, the dhole exists silently like a crimson spectre. The result of millions of years of evolution, it has become one of Southeast Asia's most effective pack hunters. Dholes hunt in packs of 5 to 12, coordinating through long whistles that echo through the forest. Yet, the dhole is classified as endangered, with only about 2,500 to 3,000 individuals remaining. Sumatra is a cradle of biodiversity, where many endemic species struggle to survive in the forest's shadow. Amidst the dense foliage, the silence is broken by the silent footfalls of the Sumatran tiger. It is the last remaining tiger subspecies in Indonesia and the smallest of all tigers. Its modest size is not a weakness, but a sophisticated adaptation to the dense jungle. A compact, agile body allows it to weave through tangled vines and narrow trails where prey least expects it. Its vivid orange coat with thick, bold black stripes allows it to dissolve into the forest's dappled light. These patterns are more than mere markings. They are perfect camouflage that shatters its silhouette. In this world of shadow and patience, it is a master of concealment, the ghost of the Sumatran forest. But that authority is now more fragile than ever. As the forest is fragmented by roads and plantations, its territory continues to shrink. With only a few hundred left in the wild, every step of the Sumatran tiger is more than a hunt. It is a silent battle for the survival of an entire wilderness legacy. Hidden within Sumatra's thickest foliage, a phantom from prehistoric times still endures. This is the Sumatran rhinoceros, the smallest and most ancient rhino species on Earth. It is the closest living relative to the woolly rhinoceros, a relic of an ice age that ended millennia ago. With its thin coat of hair and two small horns, it carries the imprint of a world long gone. But this echo from the past is slowly fading away. Today, this solitary and shy creature exists only in Sumatra and a small pocket of Borneo. With fewer than 80 individuals left in the wild, it stands on the precipice of extinction, listed as critically endangered. Habitat loss and relentless poaching are the primary threats driving this ancient animal to its absolute limit. Each footstep in the quiet forest is a fragile reminder of a heritage we are at risk of losing forever. At the very peak of the Sumatran canopy, a solitary figure moves with quiet grace. This is the Sumatran orangutan, known in the local tongue as the person of the forest. A sage of the high branches. A master of the heights, it rarely descends to the damp ground where danger constantly lurks. Arms, far stronger than legs, are the perfect tools for traversing the gaps between the trees. Every movement is intentional, slow, and deeply calculated. Its brain maintains a detailed map of the forest, recalling the location and ripening time of every fruit tree. Yet its greatest legacy is passed down through an unbreakable maternal bond. For nearly a decade, the young will learn everything from their mother, from building a nightly nest to identifying hundreds of edible plants. It is one of the longest and most complex learning periods in the entire animal kingdom. However, millions of years of wisdom cannot withstand a single modern force. Beneath their high paradise, the roar of chainsaws is growing louder. The forest is vanishing at an alarming and unprecedented rate. With only about 13,000 remaining, each individual is a precious gem, a flickering hope for Asia's only great ape. Yet beyond the hunts and the struggles, what remains is the profound fragility of existence. When habitats shrink and populations are counted only in the dozens or hundreds. Every living soul becomes a living legacy of millions of years of evolution. Every step is not just a search for food, but a silent war against disappearance. Life here requires no myth to achieve greatness. Its value is found in its persistence, its intelligence, and its capacity to adapt. And the future of that legacy no longer rests on instinct, but on the choices made by humanity. This is an ancient cycle, led by the primal rhythm of nature. A primitive instinct surges through the veins of millions of creatures. It is the call of the greatest migration on the planet. Over 2 million creatures begin their majestic journey towards the lush grasslands of the Masai Mara. Leading the way are the zebra, the courageous pioneers. They clear the path by grazing on the coarse, older grasses, opening the way for the black sea of wildebeest that billows behind. This is not competition, but a perfect symbiotic alliance for survival. But no journey is without its trials. A great geological scar, the Mara River, stands in their path. This river is a gateway between life and death, demanding extraordinary courage. The entire army hesitates before the raging current. They need a pioneer, one individual brave enough to make the fateful leap. And then an explosion of adrenaline. One animal plunges, and thousands immediately follow. A spectacular sight that millions of souls have risked everything and claimed their reward. The green pastures await. But for many others, the journey has ended forever. Had they not pushed forward, the aridity of the land left behind would have killed them also. This is only the beginning of the most brutal chapter. The moment the first hooves touch solid ground, the herd walks straight into a prepared banquet. The queens of the savannah have been in position since the earth began to tremble with millions of hooves. A zebra, exhausted from its struggle with the current, has muscles filled with lactic acid. Its reflexes have become dangerously slow. But it is not only the queens who hunt. Science has often portrayed male lions as lazy, waiting for the lionesses to provide. But that is not always the case. A little further on, where stragglers are trying to rest, another shadow has been waiting patiently. The leopard, a master of the art of concealment. The promised land of the Masai Mara does not grant life for free. Every blade of green grass here has been nourished by the blood of past generations. As the migration moves deeper into the heart of the Masai Mara, the dry season begins to tighten its grip. The grasses turn a faded yellow, water sources slowly vanish. Concealment becomes more difficult than ever. Now, the stage belongs to the true masters of speed. A coalition of cheetahs. Instead of fighting over territory, these brothers work together to hunt. Their strength lies in their unity. A young, weak zebra, straying from the protection of the herd, is an ideal target. It is neither fast enough nor has the stamina to escape a prolonged chase. In the heat of the day, most predators rest. But the cheetah, especially a lone female, must take advantage of this time. After a chase, she needs time to catch her breath. And this is the moment she is most vulnerable to opportunists. And as expected, an uninvited guest appears. Many do not realize that spotted hyenas are proactive and brutally efficient predators. When the scent of fresh meat is on the wind, they know it is time to act. One should not be fooled by their ungainly appearance. The hunting success rate of a hyena can be even higher than that of a lion. Spotted hyenas live in clans, but even a single individual is a formidable opponent. After a hyena's feast, even the vultures are rarely left with a chance. But the great banquet in the Masai Mara would be incomplete without its true masters. The lion is the only big cat with a complex social life. The males, whose majestic manes are not just for show but to protect their necks in battle, are tasked with defending the territory from intruders. Meanwhile, the responsibility of feeding the family falls to the females. They are the pride's primary hunters. A wildebeest is ideal prey. It is large enough to feed a family for a day, but not as dangerous as a Cape buffalo. As the plains grow ever more arid, the lion's hunger only intensifies. This time, the prey is not one of the giants of the migration, but a Thomson's gazelle. For a lion, the gazelle presents a hunt that demands absolute precision. In the great torrent of the migration, not every individual has the strength to keep up with the grueling journey. In the unforgiving world of nature, to be slow or weak is to become a target. Muscles are weary, and reflexes are dulled after the long march. But all endurance has its limits. As the dry season in the Masai Mara reaches its harshest peak, even the hunters begin to lose their strength. And that is when the balance of power begins to shift. Scientists have measured the force of a kick from an adult zebra at nearly 3,000 newtons, enough to cause serious injury to any predator. For a cheetah, such an injury is a slow death sentence. However, when hunger strikes, other lionesses will not give up so easily. The riverbank always holds the thirsty and the unwary. Or perhaps it is they who are being careless. A colossal Cape buffalo, one of Africa's most dangerous animals, will not. It seems that across the Masai Mara, every creature is nursing a resentment towards the kings. This spirit of defiance is spreading like a movement. Only the lions refuse to accept this reality. They still believe that hunting a giant will restore their lost honor. But this time, they have failed. It will become a laughingstock across East Africa. The dry season ends with a great victory for the prey. They never sought to be rulers, but they have proven that they too are warriors. In November, the winds change, carrying moisture from the south. A chemical signal from the Serengeti beckons once more. The migrating army of 1.5 million turns for home. But this return journey has a completely different feel. Gone is the eagerness of a promise. In its place are exhaustion and the memories of loss. The gates of death at the river never open for free. In recent days, the lead male lion has watched his mates being tossed and trampled by the fierce resistance of those who were once food. For a king, it is a humiliation. But first, he must prepare. Fill his empty belly and warm his muscles. It has been a long time since this king has been at ease. The riverbank seems ready to welcome him. Perhaps a male wildebeest has grown overconfident after surviving a season of peril. It has triggered an explosion of testosterone in the ruler's blood. His fury reaches its peak. One final gift from the monarchy to bid farewell to the pilgrims. A wildebeest's horns are nothing compared to a buffalo's, but they are enough to topple the crown and pride of the land's master. The resistance spreads like an undercurrent. The wildebeest herd seems to distribute its wrath evenly across the Maasai. When the southern rains return, the Serengeti is reborn from the ashes. And with it, the great circle of migration closes perfectly. But the peace of the grasslands is merely a prelude to a battle even more primal, the fight for the immortality of the bloodline. The air is now thick with testosterone. From the battles of zebras for a harem to the brutal clashes of wildebeest. All are fighting for a single privilege, the right to write their name into the next generation. The winner will take all. The loser faces the permanent oblivion of his lineage. And then, after the conflicts, nature's greatest miracle begins to unfold. In just a few short weeks, 500,000 wildebeest calves are born in unison, flooding the plains. This population explosion occurs on fertile volcanic soil, where the grasses absorb abundant calcium and phosphorus. This precious nutrition passes into the mother's milk, helping the calves' bones develop at an extraordinary rate. It is a critical advantage, because within an hour of birth, they must be on their feet, running for their lives. But new life does not always come with peace. A harsh reality also unfolds. And yet, in the eyes of these young creatures, there is no hatred. They do not yet know the concept of predator and prey. There is only pure curiosity, an innocence that fate one day will force them to abandon. This is the hope of their species, born from conflict and forged in danger. They will grow. They will face the river of death. They will fight their enemies. And one day, they will return to this very place to continue the timeless saga of life. While the Serengeti is immersed in the joyous dance of rain and rebirth, in the southwest of the African continent, another story is being written in sand and fire. The region of Damaraland stretches out like a pristine, undisturbed geological slice of time. This area covers nearly 18,500 square miles, lying between the Namib Desert and the Central Plateau. Damaraland rarely appears on standard tourist maps. Perhaps that is why it has retained a rare purity in the heart of Africa. Brandberg and Tweefelfontein are two prominent geological icons, with thousands of ancient rock engravings scattered across a wild and mesmerizing landscape. The extremely arid desert region in western Damaraland is where nature strips away all that is superfluous, leaving only the bare essence of survival. All that remains are seas of gravel, low dunes, cracked earth, and a sky that burns at midday. The annual rainfall here is less than 4 inches, so scarce that life must create its own opportunities to exist. By day, the temperature can easily exceed 113 degrees Fahrenheit, making the air seem to shatter in the dry heat. At night, it plummets below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, creating extreme temperature cycles. Every creature must adjust its biological rhythm just to hold its breath through the freezing desert nights when millions of stars shine unobscured by artificial light. Amidst the harshest land of Damaraland, a great creature quietly leaves deep footprints on the scorching ground. The desert elephant. Unlike their cousins on the green plains, they have chosen to face adversity. They have longer legs, leaner bodies, and broader ears, adaptations for long journeys and for dissipating heat. Despite their massive bodies, they can travel up to 43 miles a day in search of scarce water sources, which exist for only a few weeks each year. An extraordinary spatial memory allows them to recall the exact location of every waterhole, knowledge passed down from one generation to the next. A matriarchal social structure is the foundation that holds the herd together amidst the aridity. The herd is led by the oldest, most experienced female. This individual holds the invisible map of the desert in her mind, guiding her family through the arid labyrinth. Her every decision directly impacts the survival of each member. But things are becoming ever more difficult. Climate change is reducing the already meager rainfall and altering the flow of the ephemeral rivers. The scarcity of water and vegetation is forcing the desert elephants closer to human settlements, leading to increasing conflict. Today, only about 150 of these desert elephants remain. Marching alongside the desert elephant is a creature of equal resilience, the black rhino. This is the most unique subspecies of black rhino, now restricted to a few semi-arid regions of Namibia, including Damaraland. They occupy a natural habitat of roughly 9,600 square miles, forming the largest wild population of black rhinos on the planet. A single individual may command a territory of up to 190 square miles. Despite their poor eyesight, they rely on an extremely keen sense of smell and hearing to navigate. Even on steep slopes, the black rhino can climb to find food. When threatened, it can charge at 30 miles per hour. The most unique evolution of this species lies in its diet. They favor succulent plants, particularly the Euphorbia damarana, a plant whose sap is toxic to most other animals. The digestive system of the black rhino, however, can completely neutralize these toxins. During the harsh dry season, this becomes the only source of life that remains. The ability to endure long periods without drinking is a key survival strategy. They can survive for 3 to 4 days without water, obtaining the moisture they need from plants. According to a 2024 report by Save the Rhino International, Namibia is now home to over 2,200 black rhinos, accounting for the vast majority of the global population of the subspecies Diceros bicornis bicornis. In the silence of the desert, a puff adder glides discreetly over the cracked earth. Its body blends with the hot sand. It makes no sound, it does not hurry, but it is always ready for a precise strike. A master of camouflage, the puff adder is one of Africa's most feared predators. The patterns on its skin render it almost invisible among the rocks and shrubs. It can lie motionless for hours, waiting for the ideal moment. With an incredibly fast bite, its venom enters the prey's body, causing tissue destruction, hemorrhaging, and intense pain. Unlike many snakes that choose to flee, the puff adder confronts a threat head-on. It inflates its body, hisses, and is ready to strike immediately. This behavior makes it the snake responsible for the most bites in sub-Saharan Africa. Its venom is not the most chemically potent, but it is extremely dangerous due to the large quantity injected and the snake's wide distribution. Its venom is a cytotoxin, a powerful agent that specializes in destroying cells and tissues. A victim can suffer swelling, skin discoloration, blistering, and necrosis, which can spread in minutes. A single bite can inject 150 to 350 milligrams of venom, many times the lethal dose for an adult human. In areas without medical facilities, the mortality rate can be as high as 20%. It is not just the venom, but the speed of its attack that makes the puff adder a true menace. It can launch a strike in just a quarter of a second, faster than the human eye can register. Scattered across Damaraland are massive granite outcrops. They are natural shelters for creatures that know how to disappear under the fierce sun. The rugged topography of these rock formations creates unique microclimates. By day, the temperature can exceed 104 degrees Fahrenheit, but inside the crevices it remains cool, creating a haven for reptiles. These outcrops also hold immense cultural value. Over 2,500 rock engravings at Tweefelfontein, dating from 2,000 to 6,000 years ago, depict the ancestral connection of the San people to nature. On the Brandberg, Namibia's highest mountain, one finds the White Lady painting, which depicts a hunting ceremony painted with local mineral pigments. Within the cracks of the granite boulders, the rock hyrax, also known as the dassie, navigates through every crevice. It may resemble a rodent, but its closest living evolutionary relative is the elephant. A surprising relationship hidden beneath a coat of grey fur and a plump body. They spend up to 95% of their day at rest, a biological strategy to compensate for their poor ability to regulate body temperature. They use the sun's rays as a natural thermostat. The soles of their feet have moist pads that act like suction cups, allowing them to cling to vertical rock faces where eagles and leopards can hardly reach. Their complex digestive system allows them to break down cellulose from the driest, toughest plants of the desert. They are a small but essential link, helping to maintain the balance of this harsh ecosystem. At an altitude of over 3,000 feet, a winged shadow circles in silence. The martial eagle, one of the 5 largest eagles in Africa and a true warrior. Its body can be over 3 feet long, with a wingspan of nearly 9 feet, and weighing up to 14 pounds. Its feathers provide perfect camouflage among the dry branches and red cliffs. Its eyes can spot prey from over 3 miles away. An absolute advantage in Damaraland, where vegetation is sparse. With its sheer power, The Marshall eagle occupies the top of the food chain in these semi-arid ecosystems. However, this icon of power is losing its strength in the modern world. Since 2020, the International Union for Conservation of Nature has listed this species as endangered. The main causes are hunting, poisoning, habitat loss, and collisions with power lines.